Well, good morning, everybody. Today is September 1st. I'm at Hilltop. I've been at Hilltop since the 26th of August, minus a couple trips home cutting firewood. So I get a load of firewood, I take it home, blah, 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 blah. Don't know how to tell this one. So it's going to be a long, drawn out video because there are multiple levels to this. And not entirely sure how well this is going to be received. But if nothing else, this is just my own documentation. So we'll see if I even post it, if I'll have a need to post it. But, first thing I'm going to say is, I'm going to do my best to not be disrespectful, disparaging. This has to do with the crew, and none of us are infallible. None of us are perfect in any stretch of the imagination. There's things that, as a group, the Arizona Four, that we don't all agree on, and that's what makes this unique relationship that we all have just that much more dynamic. And so with that, so I got up here Monday with my wife, and Paul was here. And so we had the first night, and we had pretty good activity. We had shimmering image all around us, to the point it was making my wife nauseous. And like the second time she's experienced it, but not to that level. And so what it is it's like the only way we can describe it is it's possibly an energy field of some sort. We just get this real heavy, wavy pattern that just completely engulfs us. So we had that going on, and kind of back over here, I was seeing all kinds of movement, back this over, behind me, and a lot of movement back over in here. And as you can see, we got the camp over there, and it was a fairly decent night. Not much in the lines of communication. So the following day, Tuesday, is when Chris and his wife came in, and Wayne came in, and that's Wayne's camper there in the background. And kind of a similar night, and just not much in the line of communications, but got a little, happy to be here type thing. And so Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, I was going to wait till about 3-4 o'clock to take the load of firewood home. And because Wayne has Starlink, and they were able to look at the weather, and we were supposed to get some pretty heavy weather coming in. So I decided that me and the wife were going to bug out and go get the firewood delivered to my house. And on the way out, ran into Chuck, and Chuck had somebody with him, one of the followers from his YouTube channel. Now, before I go much farther with that, we typically do not bring somebody out without somebody else in the group meeting them, talking to them on the phone, something to get the gist. But anyway, so to the group, a complete stranger was brought out that we knew absolutely nothing about, and I still really don't know anything about him, good, bad, or indifferent. And I've got no real opinion other than what ended up happening. But we've got our wives out here, and typically we don't have them out here, so not really the right trip to bring a complete stranger out into the midst of our group that we don't know anything about. And but so anyway, we're driving out and we run into Chuck and the person that he's bringing out. For personal safety or whatever, we'll just call him George. And so Chuck got out of the van and I was talking to him, and he wanted me to meet George, and so I got out and met George, and he's only supposed to be out for the day, so like, no big deal, I suppose. But still having a complete stranger brought into the camp with the wives here, I just wasn't super enticed about it. Let me just say that. But so we left, and apparently this guy takes off on a walk and gets himself lost. He's not from this state, not from this altitude. We're at 7,600 feet here at Hilltop. So it's somebody who's used to coastal elevations. Probably not the brightest place to be out walking alone. But so apparently he ended up getting lost, and everybody went to go look for him. And after, I guess he was lost like 2.5 hours. Wayne was getting ready to call search and rescue. It's the temperature had dropped about 20 plus degrees. Thunderstorms had come in, raining, lightning, and so everybody's out wandering the forest looking for George. And finally Wayne finds him about a half mile away from camp, and some I guess when he got back to camp, there was some I don't want to use the word attitude because I wasn't here. This is all secondhand. But they were very stern with him, and rightly so. You go from oh my gosh, where is this person? And now you're in fear and concern mode, and everybody's out looking for him. And then once he's found, that changes over to what the hell are you thinking? And so this guy ended up pulling out of here, and so this is where a little bit of I don't even know how to word it, but I'll start from my end. I got a message via Vision Mind Speak that they weren't happy up here with us. And I really didn't understand what was going on until I got back up here and find out that that this had gone on. You know, the guy George getting lost, and you know, Wayne and Chuck, you know, reading the guy the fifth. You know, it's which he's lucky I wasn't out here, you know, because I would have been the same way. You know, I spend a lot of time in the outdoors, and you know, I'm very particular about what people do in the outdoors, and somebody who has no business being out here goes and gets himself lost. You know, and like I said, George, I don't know anything about him. I'm not discouraged, you know, giving grief about George. You know, he should have had enough common sense to not go wandering around in unfamiliar terrain, in unfamiliar surroundings. It's just, you know, that tells me a lot about somebody, that somebody will go out and do that. And probably a great guy, probably awesome guy, you know, but out here, just not everybody's designed to be out here. You know, and like I said, I'm getting everything all secondhand as far as, you know, the story. You know, so I'm talking with Chuck, you know, asking him what's going on, and you know, and he told me, and you know, that he went out for a walk and he knew where he was, and then all of a sudden he didn't, and you know, I guess what had happened is supposedly Chuck had got a message in the middle of the night from our friends out here that George was brought out here by the forest people to test Wayne and Chris to see if they had any compassion, and they didn't show compassion, so they had failed the test. This is what Chris told me, this is what Wayne told me, and this is kind of what Chuck told me. And, you know, that immediately threw up some red flags to me, because they don't operate that way. They never have, and I don't think they ever will. You know, but, you know, so Chuck's telling me a side of the story, and, you know, and I just simply said that, you know, Chris has had healings. Wayne's been out here with us for a long time. The forest people absolutely know who they are, and absolutely, you know, there's relationships there. And at that point, you know, there's no testing, you know, that needs to be done. They've been vetted. You know, they're good to go. So anyway, fast forward. I don't know if you guys just heard that, but somewhere back behind me there was a branch break. Not sure where it came from. But anyway, so that night, you know, Chuck and I are sitting out, and it just feels different. The whole vibe is different. And then I get very clearly peace offering. And I'm like, I don't understand, you know, and I told Chuck I got peace offering, and, you know, and he asked, you know, well, what do they mean by that? And I really, really, really wasn't 100% sure. I'm trying to remember exactly what was said. Last night, what happened last night has just got me floored. But it was basically to the fact that they were upset that they were blamed for this guy getting lost, and that they had absolutely nothing to do with it. So that was the gist of it. And so I told Chuck, and so Chuck got a little confused, and was wondering if he heard the message wrong that he got. And I was just like, well, I don't know. This is what I was just told. And so I ended up getting up, and I walked over, through down this little 2-track road just a little bit, and pretty sternly got told that they, about them not being happy, and that I came back and I was telling Chuck, and I told him, I said, you should probably walk over there and apologize, for making an accusation, or not. I don't even know if accusation is the right word that I used that night, but so anyway, Chuck ended up going over there and apologizing, and I kind of walked over closer to my tent, and was kind of just talking out loud, and and reiterating that if I did anything that had upset them. Oh, and one of the messages I got was that made me concerned that my relationship with the forest people was at risk. And so this is one of the things that that got me a little bent on this whole subject. Is I'm over 12,000 hours out here building a relationship, and the possibility that something could happen that would jeopardize that, I'm just not super thrilled about. And so anyway, I'm over here, having a conversation with them, and it was Rickett, and earlier in the night, Rickett was, asked who was here, and it was Rickety Rick. I was just like, wow, okay. But anyway, a little sidetrack. But something was brought up about Aiden. That's Indy's mate. Indy has passed away. Indy was basically my teacher. But Aiden, that she wasn't well was what I thought I had understood, and so I figured, well, maybe that has something to do with the difference in the atmosphere and the difference in the interactions on this trip, and why everything seemed to be so different. So we will move forward to last night. And so last night, it was kind of had the fire going, because it rained for several hours yesterday, so just wanted to sit by a fire. And it started to get dark, and so moved over to where we normally sit. And I decided to go walk down the 2-track towards the gift stump. And I got out there, and I got another clear message, and it was, they're not upset with me. So that made me feel better, and so I just kind of talking and clicking, and and getting some click responses, and just this kind of a warmth feeling. And so I turned around to walk back over to talk to Wayne. And Wayne was standing in the middle of the road, and he was kind of surprised to see me there because he thought he saw me standing off to his right. And then when I come walking down the 2-track, so he saw somebody over there in what we call the meadow. And so we talked for a minute, and I said, well, let's walk back out there. And so we start walking back out there, and can definitely feel the presence. And I'd stopped, and I got power zapped, and it literally took me off my feet. I was down on my arms and knees. Not the first time I've been dropped to the ground, and then no, it's not going to be the last time, and no, it's not anything bad. It's not, it's just there's one specific individual that this seems to happen with, and this is Eadengen, and could feel her commanding presence. And I had asked her, are you upset with me? And I got 4 words: you are in family. And so it was probably, I think it was 2 years ago that I was told by her that I basically adopted into the family, and because of the high level of trust and yada yada yada. I mean, does that mean I go sit down and we have beers and talk shop? No, but I am considered part of the family. And so that made me real happy. And I was getting ready to ask if she was okay, and I'm doing this in my head. And I haven't felt this since we were that I was notified that Indy passed away. We had the crew with us when it happened, but I got hit with the most powerful emotions. And she said, we loved Jasmine, and we feel your grief of your loss. And I had the emotions of a lot of individuals placed on me. And I mean, I damn near dropped to the ground again, and I was crying like a baby. It was a major emotional release. But while we're out there, the other thing that I was told is that peace offering not given in sincerity. And the only thing I can take from that is that because Chuck was in conflict of what he was told, or what he thought he was told, or what he thought he understood. And what was given to me directly was completely different than what he was given. And so it was, whatever message he was given did not come from them. That was blatantly obvious. Eadengen made that blatantly clear. It was very powerful back over there last night. And, it's... I love my brother Chuck. I do. I love him deeply. And I don't want anything in the world to ever jeopardize our relationship. We have spent a lot of time out here together. So we'll just leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. Today is just going to be a day of rest and relaxation. My good knee is hurting me, and I think it's the MCL ligament, but we'll get through it. It's going to be a beautiful day today. Hopefully we have nothing but sunny day. We've had quite a bit of rain up here over the last few days. So anyway, I will make my decision probably when I get home, whether this is just going to be an archived file or whether it's going to get posted up on YouTube. I'll just have to wait and see. With that being said, I am well over the 20-minute mark. I love each and every one of you. Please, 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 please be good to yourselves. Be good to those around you. Pay close attention to your surroundings at all times. Peace out.